Welcome, Geographical Discoveries. In this episode, we travel back to the 15th and 16th centuries and uncover one of the most transformative moments in human history, the European discovery of America in 1492. This wasn't just the finding of a new continent, it was the beginning of an age of unprecedented global exchange, the birth of the first truly worldwide civilization, and the start of a new chapter for the planet. Let's dive in. It all began with the Renaissance. Between the 14th and 15th centuries, Europe experienced a rebirth of learning and curiosity. People started asking old questions in new ways. What lies beyond the known world? How can we reach the riches of the East? And more importantly, how can we reach those riches faster than anyone else? The invention of the printing press, new maps, and the growing wealth of the Italian city-states turned curiosity into something that could actually be funded and organized. The driving force behind this new spirit was a man who would change the course of history forever. Christopher Columbus was born in 1451 in Genoa, Italy. He grew up on the docks, listening to sailors' tales of distant lands. At 24, he left home, sailing the Mediterranean, learning the trade winds and the art of dead reckoning. For over 20 years, he tried to convince anyone who would listen that the world was much smaller than the official map said. Columbus believed the Earth was a sphere, and that the distance from Europe to Asia by land was about 12,000 nautical miles. If you sailed west, he calculated, you would hit Asia much sooner than anyone thought. He was right about the distance, and completely wrong about the size of the Earth. His estimate was off by about 5,000 miles. Yet for his time, it was the best guess anyone had. In 1484, he petitioned the Spanish monarchs Isabella and Ferdinand for 3 ships and a royal title. They agreed on August 3rd, 1492. 3 vessels, the Santa María, the Pinta, and the Niña, set sail from the Canary Islands. Columbus had his crew of 90 men, most of them volunteers from Spanish ports. For 36 days they sailed west into unknown waters. The crew grew restless, food ran low, morale was cracking. Then, on October 10th, a lookout cried out, "Land ho!" That was October 12th, 1492. They had landed on what they called San Salvador, the island the local Taino people called Guanahani. Columbus wrote in his journal, "I have discovered new lands and islands never before seen by any man." He believed he had reached the Indies, the legendary islands off the coast of China. He was wrong. He was in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, and the Americas. But for him, and for thousands who would follow, it didn't matter. The Indies were still there, just a little farther west. Over the next few weeks, Columbus sailed between several islands, trading copper bells and beads with the gentle Taino people. He named the islands after saints and claimed them for Spain. He also began to notice something very strange. The people here were different from anything he had ever seen. Tall, brown-skinned, with beautiful bodies, they greeted the strangers with curious smiles and offered food and cotton cloths without fear. Columbus returned to Spain in triumph in March 1493. He had only 41 men left, but he had treasures, native artifacts, and the wildest story ever told. The Spanish king and queen listened in awe. Within months, the news had spread across Europe. The reaction was explosive. Pope Alexander VI issued a papal bull that same year, giving Spain the right to claim any new lands. Spain was ecstatic. The dream of a direct sea route to the Indies, and all the spices, silks, and gold waiting there seemed to be coming true. But the real revolution had only just begun. In 1497, 5 years after Columbus's first voyage, another Italian navigator, Amerigo Vespucci, sailed south along the coast of Brazil and Venezuela. He wrote clear letters describing these new lands and their inhabitants. His letters were published and read by scholars across Europe. Soon, people started calling the new continent America, after Amerigo Vespucci. In 1499, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama rounded the southern tip of Africa and reached India. He proved that the sea route to the east was possible. The Portuguese fleet then quickly moved into the spice trade. Spain, meanwhile, focused on the Caribbean and the mainland of the Americas. By 1500, European ships were crisscrossing the Atlantic. The Columbian exchange had begun. The first thing Europeans brought to the Americas were diseases. Smallpox, measles, and other illnesses the natives had never seen swept through the indigenous populations. Entire civilizations were wiped out. In the Caribbean, the Taino population dropped from millions to just a few thousand within decades. On the positive side, the exchange was even more dramatic. Horses, cattle, wheat, rice, and sugar crops arrived from Europe. Gold and silver from the Americas poured into Europe, funding wars and building magnificent cathedrals. Silk, porcelain, and spices from Asia arrived in exchange. The world had never been so connected. But there was a dark side. The Spanish colonizers treated the native people harshly. Forced labor, disease, and violence decimated populations. Yet some indigenous leaders, like Taino cacique Anacaona, fought back and left us stories that still move us today. In the 16th century, other European powers joined the race. France sent Jacques Cartier to Canada, looking for a northwest passage. England sent Sir Francis Drake, who raided Spanish treasure ships in the Pacific. Spain and Portugal divided the Americas with the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, a line drawn on the map that gave everything west of it to Spain and east to Portugal. By the end of the 16th century, the map of the world looked completely different. The Americas were no longer blank spaces on the globe. They were becoming new kingdoms, new sources of wealth, and new battlegrounds. Columbus himself never returned to the Americas. He made 3 more voyages, always believing he was close to the riches of China. He died in 1506, still convinced he had found India. But the truth was clear. A new chapter in human history had begun. The geographical discoveries of the 15th and 16th centuries didn't just open a continent. They opened a world. They showed that human curiosity, combined with courage and the right technology, could change everything. The age of exploration had begun, and the world would never be the same. If you want to learn more, check out our next episode on the Portuguese Empire in the East or the first encounters between Europeans and native peoples. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a geographical discovery. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.